guys, let's do this. We're just going to roll. We're going to keep rolling. Yeah, I agree. It's great. Our next presenter is Leeann Webster. Leeann, I agree. Let's pre-clap for her because she will be awesome. Seriously, let's clap for her. Yeah, I like it. Leeann is the creator of Busy Girl's Guide to Business. She's an entrepreneur, lawyer, coach, and triathlete. For fun, she takes volunteer vacations, which allow her to experience foreign countries in unique ways, as we'll learn tonight in her discussion of Cuba, Complicated Simplicity. Please welcome Leeann.
Thanks to my fan club. Okay, so don't tell anyone, but I went to Cuba without a permit. And it was kind of an interesting trip. So we're going to start at the beginning with the 4-star hotel that I stayed in. Oh. Ready? Okay, the 4-star hotel that I stayed in. And unfortunately, my first night, there was a cockroach in my bed. So they upgraded me to the executive floor, the penthouse suite. And I went up to this wonderful room, which fortunately did not have a cockroach, but was not very good with the window situation. As you can see, there was cracks and a big draft in the door. So what's interesting about Cuba, everyone, whenever you think about Cuba, you see all these pictures of the cars and from the 1950s, and they are all over the place. They're original. And so I asked them, why do you have all these cars from the 50s? Are you preserving some sort of history? Is there some altruistic purpose to it? Unfortunately, it's because Cuban citizens are not allowed to buy new vehicles, even if they could afford them. So they have to keep the car that they had at the time of the revolution. This is another mode of transportation. And what's kind of interesting about this picture also is you'll notice there's no advertising of any sort. Since because the society that they have, there's no marketing, no billboards, except the billboards that have government propaganda messages. So the top one says 51 years of wars and victories, and the bottom one says socialism is our sovereignty and independence. And what I love about the top one is the 52, the blue is a little darker because they update it every year. So that's someone's job. Also, you see architecture, a lot of pictures of architecture in Cuba, and this one, what's interesting about it is they look kind of cool, but then when you get closer, you see that they're kind of crumbling and they're not very well maintained. So I asked, why is there no water in the fountains? Why are the buildings crumbling? And they said, our people need food and water. We can't maintain the architecture, except in the tourist areas where somebody might actually see that something's crumbling. So a little dichotomy with what visitors see versus what the real people get. Also, you hear a lot about food in Cuba, and so what's interesting there is, of course, all of the restaurants are government-run, but there are paladares, which are private restaurants, basically in people's homes. They're limited to about 10 tables. They're also limited that they can't serve shrimp and lobster because the government has a monopoly on shrimp and lobster. So you can only get those in the government restaurants. I just thought this was kind of cool. I liked that they had a countdown for the stoplights. I thought that was a really innovative idea that you know how long before you can gun it to go through the intersection. Back to food really quickly. They did not understand the concept. They don't have Starbucks there, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they didn't understand the concept of coffee to go. So it took me about 4 places to get them to put coffee in a little plastic cup and let me take it with me. They couldn't understand why I wouldn't sit in the restaurant and enjoy my coffee. La Americana quieres café to go. They didn't get it. I spent most of my trip volunteering in Vinales Valley, which is 3 hours west of Havana. Again, it's really a beautiful mountainous region, green rolling hills. This is the view from the restaurant where I have my meals every day. And again, a government-owned property. All of the hotels are owned by the government. So here on your right, a beautiful view, but on the left is the pool, which they weren't really good about maintaining because there's no competition out there, so they don't have a lot of reason to keep things in the higher standards that we kind of expect as Americans. I spent the week volunteering on a farm. The farm had no mechanical tools of any sort, so when we needed to plow the fields, we hooked a plow up to oxen and went back and forth across the fields. It was a lot of hard labor out in the sun, but actually it was a wonderful, wonderful trip. One of the crops that they had there were sesame seeds, and I never thought about this until I saw the plant, but sesame seeds come in these little green pods, and you kind of crack them open, and you get the seeds out of them. Um, I've eaten so many sesame seeds, I never thought about it. The farm was owned by a gentleman named Felix, and Felix was a really wonderful man, and at the end of the day, he would make a cocktail for me, and it was, everything he ate was off of the farm, so he would get the coconut to take the coconut water out, he'd take the lime off the tree to squeeze the lime, he'd take honey from the bee's nest that he had out back, and add a little bit of rum, and reward me at the end of every day, which was awesome. This is Manalo, who also helped us out, and he's asking if I want 1 finger of rum or 1 finger of rum in my drink. We drank a lot of rum on the trip, too. Felix was helped out by a man named Pablo, who was really wonderful. The people were so wonderful and generous, and Felix actually owns the farm. You can own property in Cuba, but you can't buy or sell your property. So if Felix wanted to move to another farm, he would need to find someone else to trade with him. They were very sweet. I was the first volunteer who ever came who spoke some Spanish. So they wrote really lovely notes to my Spanish teacher, thanking her for teaching me so well and inviting her to come to visit, because they really want, yeah, I know, they really want Americans to come visit. But the most interesting thing was on the way out of town, I had this 12-hour delay at the airport. And, you know, normally if you get delayed, they're kind of like, suck it up. But in Cuba, they load the tourists into this tour bus, send you to a 5-star resort, and let you hang out in the pool and feed you and let you drink for the afternoon. It was the best layover I've ever had in my life. And finally, if I've inspired you to go to Cuba, I've brought a sign of some of the things that you can and cannot bring on board your plane. And I just want to point out that if you're going, please leave your catapults at home. Thank you.